This is Unit 6, Level 3, kind of like a Part B on additive volume. Additive volume is really just like volume, only now they've taken two rectangular prisms and added them together. And so all you really have to do is break them back apart, find the volume of each, and add those two volumes together. That's why it's called additive volume. You're going to end up adding the two volumes together. So if you'll think back to Unit 6, Level 3, Part A, we know that volume has a formula of length times width times height. So again, I have a figure here that really has two rectangular prisms kind of sandwiched together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to separate him away from this guy over here. And I'm going to find the volume of each, and then I'm going to add those two volumes together. So again, I like to use the formula. You could count blocks, but I think using the formula tends to be a little bit easier. So that's what I'm going to do here. So on this first figure, figure 1, I'm going to name it. I'm going to go ahead and count the length. So on figure 1, the volume of figure 1, I have length, which is 3. That's down here. I have a width of, and it's a little hard to see down here, so I'm going to come up here to the top to find the width, and that width are those three right here. And my height, of course, I can find right here. It's also 3. So for the volume of shape number 1 there, it's 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So the volume of shape number 1 is 27 cubic units. Now I'm going to switch gears into the second one over here. And so on this particular guy, who's highlighted over here in orangish red, the volume of number 2, okay, again, I'm looking at length. That would be here. That's 1, 2. And then width, of course, is here, or you can see it up here on the top. That's 2. And then the height, of course, I can find right here, they're the same, or even back here, it's also 2. So the second figure is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So the volume of 2 is 8 cubic units. So now if I wanted to find the total volume, which I'll put here in black, the total volume is going to be the volume of figure number 1, which is 27, plus the volume of figure number 2, which is 8. So I'm going to take 27 plus 8, which is going to give me a total of 35 cubic units. Again, additive volume is just like regular volume, only now you have to split it up. Find the volume of both, and then add those two volumes together. Sometimes you may even have to split it up more than once, and that's okay. You'll just do the same thing. You'll just have 3 numbers that you add together, or maybe 4. Sometimes, like in this example, you'll need to do a little figuring out based on what you do know, what maybe you don't know that you might need to use for the formula. And I'll kind of explain that here in just a second. So again, on my second example, volume is length times width times height. And of course, I have 2 figures here, 2 prisms that have been put together. And unfortunately, they're not in blocks, and it might be a little bit harder to see where to separate, but I'm actually going to separate it right here. So my first figure is going to be volume 1, and my second one, this will be volume 2. Okay? So we're going to first find volume 1. In volume 1, my length is going to be this guy right here, 7 inches. My width is going to be this one right here, which is 4. And my height, and it's just kind of like flipping it on its side to think of these three, because it really doesn't matter. Multiplication can multiply in any order, so it doesn't matter what you consider length, width, and height, as long as you're not using any of the measurements from here. My height in this case, I'm going to say, is this guy right here, 3 inches. So in my first volume, I'm going to take 7 times 4 times 3. 7 times 4 is 28. And then 28 times 3 is 84. So my volume of the first figure is going to be 84. And in this case, it's not cubic units. It's going to be inches cubed because they did give me that inch measurement. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find volume of that second figure. Now I'm going to put length off for just a minute. I'm going to leave it blank. And I'm going to say that I do know the width is 3. And the height, I'm going to use this guy right here, he's 4. But unfortunately in this case, the length is actually, and I'm going to kind of erase some of my lines here so that we can see it. So if you'll bear with me for just a second. On the second figure, my length is actually this bit right here. Now I can't just take 7 inches because 7 inches is this whole thing. What I can do is I know that this whole thing is 7 inches and I used 3 of those inches up here. So 7, take away these 3, I know that this guy right here is going to be 4 inches long. So sometimes you kind of have to use what you know to take off measurements to figure out what you're left with. So in this case, that length is going to be 4. I know the whole thing is 7. This guy up here, which is going to be this 3 inches, is going to be the same as this guy right here. So this is going to be 3 inches. 7 minus those 3 inches leaves me with 4 inches over here. And a lot of times on these drawings, they're not drawn to scale. So I know when you're looking at this, you're thinking, well, that can't be 4 inches. But a lot of times the drawings are not to scale. So it is 4 inches based on the measurements that they gave us. I'm now going to go ahead and multiply these 3 together. So 4 times 3 is 12. And 12 times 4 is 48. So the volume of the total volume is going to be the volume of the first one, which was 84. And I forgot to put my inches cubed there. Plus the volume of the second one, which is 48. So 84 plus 48 leaves me with 132. And again, they gave us inches, so it's going to be inches cubed. Again, this is Unit 6, Level 3B, Additive Volume.